حاسة حالي إذا متت مع أمي كان أحسن ما أشوف يعني العذاب هذا والمر هذا بشوفه، المأساة هذه اللي بشوفها، اللي كل حاجة عندي كليتهم يعني كل اللي كنت أعزهم وأحبهم كليتهم راحوا. حاسة حالي إذا متت مع أمي كان أحسن ما أشوف يعني العذاب هذا والمر هذا بشوفه، المأساة هذه اللي بشوفها، اللي كل حاجة عندي كليتهم يعني كل اللي كنت أعزهم وأحبهم كليتهم راحوا.
نحن وقلب جنين الواحد منا يزهرها لن تدخل فينا ورقته
كم زودنا
some civilians nearby. Go in.
The people of Palestine and Kashmir look to us. They want to see a unified response from us about their human rights, about their democratic rights, rights which United Nations Security Council resolutions have given them, and unfortunately not implemented. We should, on every forum, raise our voices and a unified stance.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। रियासत पाकिस्तान में सबको खुशामदीद कहते हैं और आज हम बहुत ही एक्सक्लूसिव प्रोग्राम लेकर आए हैं आप लोगों के पास, जो कि पैलेस्टाइन में इसराइल की जेनोसाइडिंग पर है। और आज हमारे साथ जो मेहमान हैं एक्सक्लूसिवली वो पैलेस्टीनियन अमेरिकन हैं और ह्यूमन राइट एक्टिविस्ट हैं, बहुत काम कर रहे हैं अमेरिका में अवेयरनेस देने के लिए लोगों को जेनोसाइडिंग पर और पैलेस्टाइनियन के ह्यूमन राइट्स वायलेशन पर, जिनका नाम है अब्दुल बारी। और ब्रदर अब्दुल बारी थोड़ी देर में ही हमारे साथ होंगे, लेकिन थोड़ा सा मैं बताना चाहूँगी कि इसराइल की फ़लस्तीन की नस्ल कशी, इंसानी हुकूक की खुली खिलाफ वर्जी, जुल्म व बर्बरियत की इंतहा क्या कोई भी मजहब बच्चों, बूढ़ों, बीमारों, कमजोरों पर जुल्म करने की इजाजत देता है? क्या मुल्क पर काबिज होने, तसल्लुत कायम करने के लिए मुल्क की इमलाक, हस्पतालों, बागात को उजाड़ने का हुक्म देता है? क्या इंसान के बनाए जदीद हथियार अंधे हैं या उनको दागने वाले अंधे हैं? इंसानियत की तजलील क्यों बर्दाश्त की जा रही है? अमन के उसूल हैं तो जंग के उसूल जंग में क्यों नहीं लागू करके फरीक को उन उसूलों का पाबंद किया जाता है? और कोई फरीक जब जंग के उसूल तोड़े तो जंग बंदी फौरन क्यों अमल में नहीं लाई जाती? ये कुछ सवालात हैं जो आज बहुत से लोगों में जहनों में फ़लस्तीन के लिए इंसानियत का दुख रखने वालों के जहन में ना सिर्फ उठ रहे हैं बल्कि अब इनका मुतालबा दुनिया में ज़ोर भी पकड़ता जा रहा है। मैं थोड़ा सा इसको चाहूँगी कि इंग्लिश में भी बोल दूँ क्योंकि हमारा ये प्रोग्राम जो हैं वो बहुत से अमेरिकन फ़लस्तीनियन भी देख रहे होंगे इंशाल्लाह। और ब्रदर अब्दुल बारी भी जो है वो उनको उर्दू नहीं आती, वो या तो इंग्लिश समझते हैं या फिर फ़लस्तीनियन। Israel genocide of Palestine, a blatant violation of human rights, the peak of cruelty and barbarity. Does any religion permit cruelty against children, the elderly, the sick, and the weak? Does any religion order the destruction of a country's properties, hospitals, and gardens to establish dominance over it? Are modern weapons made by humans are blind, or are those who fire them? Why is the humiliation of humanity being tolerated? If there are principles of peace, where are the principles of war? Not enforced in conflict to make the parties adhere to these principles. And when any party break the principles of war, why isn't an immediate ceasefire not implemented? These are some questions that are not only arising in the minds of many who feel the pain of humanity for Palestinians today, but their demands are also gaining traction around the world. जी आरिफ, अस्सलाम वालेकुम, खुशामदीद मीडिया सर पाकिस्तान में। जी
वालेकुम
बताइए
अस्सलाम।
बारी के बारे में, फिर मैं अब्दुल बारी भाई को लेती हूँ।
जी तो बहुत अच्छा इंट्रोडक्शन आपने दिया और बहुत अच्छा किया कि दोनों ज़बानों में दिया, उर्दू में भी और अंग्रेज़ी में भी, क्योंकि इस प्रोग्राम के जो ऑडियंसेस हैं और होंगे वो दोनों ज़बानों में होंगे। बाज़ को उर्दू आती होगी और बाज़ को सिर्फ अंग्रेज़ी आती होगी। तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वेरी excellent introduction to the program. As many of you would know that this issue of Palestine is been the most controversial topic in the world, not just in one region of the world, but in the entire world. This is the most controversial topic since 1948. So do the math. We are now sitting in 2024. This is going on since 1948. And if you really look at the history, this issue did not creep into the history in 1948. It was basically started or initiated even before 1948. But even if we suppose that it started in 1948, this is a long-standing issue. And this needs to be addressed properly. Unfortunately, it was never, ever have been.
Actually, it is started since 300 years ago when Empire Ottoman was demolished by the England,
Yeah.
and British start ruling on Palestine and Jerusalem, etc. The area.
Yep. So yeah, go
Can
ahead.
can we welcome to Brother Abdul Bari now?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Abdul Bari. How are you? And hope You are doing very well by all the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are very grateful to you that you are giving your time here to our this program. Thank you. Jazakallahu khair, brother Abdul Bari.
Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. It's Allah's favor and pleasure on us that He uses us for some service for His faith.
First, we want for our viewers who are now watching this program live and who will also watch program later on. So please give your little introduction, because your introduction is so huge, because your efforts are so huge, mashallah, to spread the awareness regarding the issue of Palestine. So please.
I've been an advocate of the cause of Palestine and the liberation of Palestine most of my adult life. I'm an older person now with gray hair, so this issue has been there for quite some time. Since October 7th, since the bold move by the Islamic resistance in Palestine to liberate their lands and seize back their lands, the community here in this area, I live in Detroit, Dearborn area, it's a large area. It was characterized by the Wall Street Journal as being jihad capital of America because of the level of resistance and pushback in this area to the rights of the Palestinians being trampled upon, and to the nerve of the regime that rules our country, the Biden administration, to continue flooding weapons to the Zionist regime, even after it's been clear that it's exterminating civilians, even after it's clear that it's committing genocide, and international legal bodies have sanctioned and indicted the rulers of Israel. So we are very, very active here in this community. And I'm not saying this personally on myself, I'm saying the community in general. We've held mass protests repeatedly. There's protests sometimes every week, sometimes more than once a week. We have attempted to, and our efforts attempted to bring public awareness to the narrative. We're trying to do all manner of creative acts of resistance. And we want to stress we do nonviolent acts of resistance. Our focus is to try to change the narrative here by showing a presence, by the protests, by the messages that we're circulating, that we don't agree that any political power, government, regime, whatever you want to call it, has the right to take the lives of 15,000 innocent children and, over 40,000 innocent civilians in a war zone, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians wounded. And you have to understand these wounds are horrific in the sense that there's no anesthesia. There's no proper medical. If your leg gets blown off, you just lay there and watch the flies get on it. What are you going to do? If your child has their limb blown off, and these are 2,000-pound bombs that are being dropped on these people, so the wounds are horrific. So we're talking about, 250,000 or more killed or wounded in this conflict in a matter of 200 and some days. So our activities are trying to change that narrative. One of the things I mentioned briefly with the brother Arif earlier is that our position is we're trying to change the narrative. We don't believe the state of Israel, as it's called, we don't call it that, but the state of Israel has a right to exist. There's no mythical land without people for people without land. Those Zionists had lands, they had homes, they had businesses all throughout Europe. These are European settlers, land pirates, who went in under the cover of British imperialism and invaded and basically stole the land of Palestine from the Palestinians and have set up shop there 75 years ago, just like the Europeans did in Rhodesia, in Algeria, everywhere else in Vietnam, everywhere else throughout the world. Like they said, the sun never set on the British Empire. This is just European colonialism. This is the last vestige of it. So the state of Israel isn't some, democratic paradise in the Middle East. It's a vile, Nazi-like regime, racist regime that's determined to continue its land theft and determined to continue genocide and depopulating the area of Palestine, particularly Gaza, like Jared Kushner said. It's prime real estate. There's gas under it. The only problem is the Palestinians are living there. So we're
Yes.
doing resistance to this type of notion. We're changing the narrative here in the United States and other activists throughout the world to say, no, Israel doesn't, there's no such thing as Israel having a right to defend itself. It's a colonial state. The people who are being oppressed and occupied by colonial racist regimes have a right under international law to use armed means to defend themselves. The colonial power, which is Israel in this case, is committing egregious crimes against humanity, war crimes. So where do you stand?
What do you think? What is the role of American government in this issue, and what should and how should it do his action to resolve the issue?
I think
To
that
genocide on Palestinian or ceasefire?
recently we attended one gathering of political prisoners in Palestine. And one of the elders in the Palestinian community spoke and said, this isn't just a war of some Zionist Jews on the Palestinians. This is the war of the United States on Palestine, and Israel is just a proxy. The United States' role in the continued occupation of Palestine, we're talking 75 years, has been to provide weapons, to provide political cover, to provide citizenry, because large numbers of
very first, they don't provide their weapons to genociding on Palestine or any other human beings, right?
yes, I mean, no
So
one
this is violation of human rights.
today, in the world today, not talking about just over the last 75 years, America giving political cover to the Zionist outpost called Israel, this cancer in the Middle East. We're talking about just since this recent flare-up in the conflict, the United States has provided how many? Virtually the entirety of the weaponry that has destroyed Gaza, that has killed and wounded 250,000 people, including 15,000 babies dead that we know about, not the ones buried under the rubble. The United States.
But you think, Brother Abdul Bari, this is the issue is very high now on the recent attack of Hamas and Israel as well, and the war. You think that? Oh my God, I forgot the question. Okay, now I think again, but I was going to ask. Okay, you continue.
What we're doing here in the United States, as citizens of America, right? As people who live here in America, we feel as Muslims, and I would say honestly, the large number of the people, it's not just Muslim people. It's not just Arabic people. Arabic and Muslim people are in the background. Maybe sometimes in the leadership at some of the movements, but in the background. The masses of people that are coming out onto the streets here are non-Muslim Americans. Large number of protests that I've been to have been led by Jewish people, and they're very bold. They'll go in and shut down, train stations. They'll block highways. We're trying to say that as Americans, we say no to the assumed right of this government to participate in genocide, to send weapons that were paid for by American tax dollars to a criminal outpost. Israel, common to what just seems to be the perception here in America, because a lot of the government people are dual citizens with Israel. Israel, I hate to say, is a foreign country. It's not America. So,
and the other brother Abdul Bari, the other irritating factor linked to what you just said is there are millions and millions of homeless Americans on the streets of America all over the country in United States, and the government of United States is not spending enough money on those homeless Americans to get them a home, to get them a shelter. What the government is doing, they are sending money to Israel. I mean,
when you look at the United States, it's not just the homeless people, and we know there are millions and millions, tens of millions of homeless in America. Poverty in America. I live in some of the poorest communities in West Detroit, and when you live in the black community like this, you see the poverty. It's very grinding. It's very evident. We're not just talking about that. Look at the infrastructure in the United States, the transportation infrastructure, the bridges. The entire country is decaying.
Yep.
And while that's going on, the people who are responsible for supposedly shepherding our country, the Biden administration, is just sending billions and billions, it's unconscionable, billions of dollars to slaughter children.
Okay, I also remind that question again in my mind, what I've forgotten previously. Brother Abdul Bari, I want to ask you that is this the issue of ego or what caused Israel genocide children and innocent women in Palestine, or this is the issue of political or the issue of the matter the Israel follow since the 1948?
I think that the issue, as a Muslim, it's obviously an Islamic issue. It's not an Arab national issue. We want the liberation of Jerusalem. It's a religious imperative that Muslims defend other Muslims. It's a religious imperative that we liberate Jerusalem from the forces that came in and took it from the Muslim people about 100 years ago. We want our lands back, right? But it's not just a religious issue. It's a human issue. It should affect everyone, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Jew, whether you're a communist, whether you're a socialist. It's a human issue.
Human right violation issue is more than the other, we can say that issue of political or religious. It is a human rights violation, right?
It's a human rights violation. It's just something that we sit and read the books about the Holocaust. They make you read the diary of Anne Frank in school in America so people understand racist ideology. When you look at what they're doing, this is an evil against humanity. This is like the Nazis. This is a dark chapter, and shame on them. At least we had a Nuremberg after World War II, and they hung those criminals. What's going to happen to the criminals perpetrating that now? They're going to flee when the Muslims liberate Palestine and Jerusalem and come back over here to the United States, or go back to France, or go back to wherever they came from, and just live their normal lives? No, we have an issue with that. These are horrible. This is crimes against humanity. This is a big, big issue. Nowhere do we allow in this area, in Michigan, for any American government representative, the vice president, the president, they're not coming to our city, and we're not going to be standing there saying, no, we don't accept you. We don't accept what you're doing. We're going to not vote for you. We want you to get out of our city. Every time they come here, we do that. Every time.
Yes.
And people should do that everywhere in the Muslim world. Muslim people should lose their fear. It's like what the Europeans came in and colonized the Muslim people, and they still have this fear of white people or white Europe, like the British. Put your head down. Yes, boss. Yes, Sahib. No. What are you talking about? These people should be called out. They cannot around here go and eat dinner. They cannot speak in public. Anywhere they go, wallahi, we're coming and we're going to disrupt them and we're going to cause them grief. You're not just going to butcher our brothers and sisters and we sit silently and you live in our country. We're not going to do that. We don't accept that. That's our word to the Palestinians, and that's our word to the Muslims, and we're going to fulfill that word, and we don't care who doesn't like it. وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ.
Yes, I want to tell some war rules, regarding the war rules, what our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam command to our Caliph Abu Bakr Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with him, sent armies toward Syria once. He gave them 10 directions to follow on war. Number 1 was, do not kill any woman. Number 2 was, do not kill any child. Do not kill any elderly person. Number 4, do not cut down any fruit-bearing tree. Do not destroy inhabited places. Do not harm goats or camels except for food. Do not burn beasts. Do not scatter them. Do not betray trust. Do not show cowardice. From these directives, it becomes clear that Islam has purified war and jihad from all the barbaric acts that were an inseparable part of war in the era. And I don't think so that this in this modern world, any human being or any human right activist or organization like United Nations as well can't deny these rights during the war as well, because war should also have some rules to follow, because if we see that war doesn't should be to dominate forcefully or the violently or the humiliating the human beings in any place, they should to um, get our some very genuine reasons. But no religion and no even no single human being can agree or permit to violent any human being.
Well, yeah, for example,
That's the
bombing
way
of
Israel is
hospitals.
doing in Palestine.
Even when the war breaks between any two countries, um, hospitals are not bombarded. All right, bombardment of hospitals is not war. So, but we have seen this and seen this unfortunately so many times over, uh, that the hospitals have been bombarded. Uh, so that is totally out of any war ethics. It does not happen in any war, and
Criminal.
so this is so troubling and mind-boggling. And,
I want to point out something. When you have a racist mind frame, and you can see it again in the genocides that have committed just in our lifetimes and before with World War II and the things that occurred in these different racial genocidal massacres of human beings. When you have people that are motivated like that, and it goes back to European colonialism, right? That the black people don't have any rights that the white people have to respect.
yeah,
For white people, you have the rule of the crown, you have the rule of law, the rule of Rome. Go outside of Rome and you have the rule of the savage. And this is how the Europeans have perpetrated their colonialism, not just in Gaza. We just see Gaza because it's in the media. Look at colonialism throughout Africa. Latin America, the crimes against American imperialism in Latin America in the 70s and 80s, they still find huge mass graves of students that were rounded up in the 70s and 80s and killed by death squads, exterminated by CIA-trained military. They have never had a regard for humanity. Never. Go back to when they first conquered Jerusalem. They slaughtered the Palestinians. They slaughtered the Muslim people. They slaughtered the Christian people and the Jewish people. The same mentality exists today. They went into Iraq and starved 500,000 Iraqi babies when Saddam was there. And Madeleine Albright, a woman, how does a woman say this? Had the nerve to get on international news and say 500,000 dead babies was okay in acceptance for some political aim being achieved. I mean, imagine the mentality of these people. These people are characterized by killing children. Who else do we know? Pharaoh. Who else do we know? Like Herod. You have a problem, just kill all the male children. You have a problem, just bomb all the
even
people.
on hospitals.
Hospitals. Hospitals, refugee camps. They told the people in the north, go to the south. They went to the south.
And they are also kidnapping young children.
Yes, they went to the south in Rafah. And then the United States told them, if you go into Rafah, we're going to sanction you. They didn't have any more bullets. They didn't have any more weapons. That's why they had to stop. We think that these are monolithic powers. They're not. They're like Beit al-Ankabut. They're like a weak spider web. And what did the United States do? They sent them $3.8 billion worth of weapons, and now they attacked Rafah. So they're all in this together. They're not. The only slogans they're making about peace is either because some of their interests are being threatened or because of the domestic pressure that we've created in the United States on these leaders to where they know Joe Biden will not be president again. He will not, because enough people in the Muslim community, enough people in the press communities in America are going to say no. You can't use the fear of Trump to make us vote for this war criminal. We're not doing it.
Yes.
Abandon Biden means just that.
And we are seeing that in America, not only Muslims or Palestinians are against this government, but the non-Muslim and American natives also against the Biden governments as well.
Oh yeah, and I have seen that in massive numbers when I went to Washington D.C. to cover the rally in support of Palestine, and that was more than once. I went there several times to cover that rally in support of Palestine, and there were so many, like brother Abdul Bari told us as well. There were so many people and organizations who were not Muslims, who were not Arabs. They were non-Arab, non-Muslims organizations. They came up on the stage one by one and they showed their support for Palestine and against genocide. So it's not just Arabs and not just Muslims who are against Biden and against this genocide.
It's throughout the United States.
Yep,
And I
exactly.
know when you really look at this, I mean, after watching these debates on TV for the presidential candidates, the people are sickened that we have this type of option for leadership for president of the United States. I mean, what a joke, what an insult to anybody in this country with dignity or any sense of humanity. You have two crooks, two criminals, some senile old man that defecates on himself in public and rattling while he's talking, and some other senile man that's a criminal. How is he going to be the president?
Yeah.
And both of them say, okay, it's okay to slaughter Palestinians.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's another point, sister, I wanted to point out. And when we deal with the issue of Palestine, it's very important. Not supporting Israel does not mean you're anti-Semitic.
Yes.
A large number of the intellectuals that are delegitimizing the state of Israel.
This is very important point.
Yes, they're
yes.
delegitimizing the state of Israel. Ilan Pepe.
And please, I am sorry to interrupt you, brother Abdul Bari, because I need to discuss on this point very slowly, and I want Arif to translate it in Urdu as well. Please, Arif, because who viewers are watching, who those don't know English very well, so they can understand your point, because you raise very important point here that if we against to Israel doesn't mean that we what you say?
We're not
You speak very
anti-Semitic.
beautifully, because
We're not anti-Semitic. We follow Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad, who is definitely a Semite. The Arabic people are Semites, right? We don't chant death to the Jews. We
Arif,
say
please
we want to
translate it into Urdu first, then we go further, inshallah.
Allah.
Yeah, in Urdu, the point is हम जो हैं वो जूस के खिलाफ नहीं है, यानी यहूदियों के खिलाफ नहीं है. सबको इस दुनिया में जीने का हक है, जिंदा रहने का हक है और अपने हुकूक हासिल करने का हक है, चाहे किसी का कोई भी मज़हब हो. कोई मुसलमान है, कोई ईसाई है, कोई यहूदी है, कोई हिंदू है, कोई सिख है, कोई लादीन है. सबको जो है अपने अपने मजहबी अकायद रखने का हक है, अपने मजहबी अकायद पे अमल करने का हक है. हम ये समझते हैं और हम इस बात पे यकीन रखते हैं. लेकिन साथ ही साथ ये भी है कि किसी को ये हक भी नहीं है कि वो दूसरे के हक जो है ना सलब कर ले और दूसरे को उसका हक ना दे. इस वक्त जो मौजूदा सूरत हाल फ़लस्तीन में चल रही है और 1948 से 1948 से चल रही है, वो ये है कि जो अरब मुसलमान हैं और फ़लस्तीनी मुसलमान हैं फ़लस्तीन में, उनको उनके हुकूक नहीं दिए जा रहे और उन पे बेइंतहा जुल्म किया जा रहा है. बच्चों पे, चिल्ड्रन एंड एवरीबॉडी एंड विमेन, उन पे, औरतों पे, बच्चों पे जुल्म किया जा रहा है, उनको उनके हुकूक नहीं दिए जा रहे. तो हम इस सिलसिले में आवाज़ उठा रहे हैं क्योंकि हम ये समझते हैं कि कोड एंड कोड ह्यूमैनिटी इज़ सुप्रीम. तो ह्यूमैनिटी के ख़िलाफ़ जहाँ भी हमें पता चलेगा कि इंसानियत के ख़िलाफ़ जुल्म किया जा रहा है और आवाम को और लोगों को उनके हुकूक नहीं दिए जा रहे, तो उस पे हम अपने प्रोग्राम्स करते हैं और प्रोग्राम्स करने की कोशिश करते हैं और उनकी आवाज़ बनकर हम जो है ये प्रोग्राम्स करते हैं बेसिकली। तो लेकिन जैसे ब्रदर अब्दुल बारी ने कहा कि हम यहूदियों के ख़िलाफ़ नहीं हैं, हम ख़िलाफ़ किसी के भी नहीं हैं, हम ईसाई के ख़िलाफ़ भी नहीं हैं, हम यहूदी के ख़िलाफ़ भी नहीं हैं, हम हिंदू के ख़िलाफ़ भी नहीं हैं, हम सिख के ख़िलाफ़ भी नहीं हैं, हम किसी के भी ख़िलाफ़ नहीं हैं, बट एट द सेम टाइम we support the innocent and we support the oppressed people all over the world, including Palestine.
Okay. Yes, Abdul Bari, brother.
The point I was trying to make is that, or continuing with, is that the Israelis, what they call themselves Jews, we will call them Zionists, right? Because you have
What is the difference between Jews and Zionists? Please.
Zionism is a political ideology akin to the fascist ideologies that developed around the turn of the century. Nazism, the fascist ideology in Italy with Mussolini. It's this nationalist, ethno-nationalist idea that people have a right or entitled to land based on their ethnicity. Whether it was the Germans for the Lebensraum, we need this extra land, Mussolini going into Africa, and all these other excuses. These are just, how shall we say, racist ideologies that were developed around the turn of the century by Europeans, right? Zionism comes from there. All of the founders of the state of so-called Israel, these were not religious Jews, these were Zionists, socialists, right? So when you say someone is a Jew, that means someone follows the religion of Judaism, right? We have no problem with that. The Muslims have always sheltered. I spoke with one rabbi, prominent rabbi, and he said, we have no problem living under the rule of the Muslims. We know our history. We know the Muslims have sheltered us from the Europeans, from the Christians throughout our history. We had our golden era in Spain under the Muslims. Zionism is a racist ideology. And this ideology compels the people who follow it to behave like the Klansmen, to behave like the Nazis, to behave like any other ethno-supremacist ideology.
Yeah, they,
Right?
I think if I am not wrong, they also believe that they are only human beings and other humans who related to any religions are only for them to use to make their benefits, right? And
Yes.
they can done with any human being whatever they want to get their benefits, right?
Well, see, this is what's happened.
Yes.
They have blurred the line between Judaism and Zionism to where it's this racist, ugly ideology that has people that behave like this, where they can kill a child and say he's part of the Amalekites and just kill them all, their animals, and like the biblical Amalekites. For some human being in 2024 to think like this and do this with modern weapons is just, it should show you clearly the ideology these people have is not based from God. Judaism, they follow the religion of Musa, right?
Yes.
Ahlul Kitab. We protest all the time with Jews against the Israelis. The leading
And now
intellectuals.
we can see that a huge quantity of Jews also against the Israel genociding on Palestinians.
Well, they know they created Israel as this mythological need for a state to protect Jews because of the Nazis. What creates hatred towards Jews is Zionism. What do you think some common person thinks when he sees
Do you
a
have also Jews with your causes on there in
For
US?
sure. We don't.
largely?
The problem is the state of Israel, the whole myth of its narrative is that it exists because the Holocaust came and you have to have someplace Jews can go to protect themselves. What is
But Holocaust wasn't done by Muslims.
Yes, I like Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran, said one time, we don't know what happened in Europe. We weren't there. We live in the Middle East. Why you bring them here? Why are you bringing Jews here? Give them Germany. If the Germans did something to them, give them Germany. Why are you giving them Palestine? This belongs to people already, right? Zionism creates an environment where people hate ignorant people, hate Jewish people because they don't distinguish between, just like people hate Muslims because they don't distinguish between some fanatical terrorist group and the billion people in the world that are Muslim. It's the same thing when we see these crimes being committed by Israel under the name of protecting Jews or whatever you want to say. What do you think that does throughout the world? It creates anti-Semitism. It makes hatred toward Jews. Not Muslims aren't doing this. The Israelis themselves, by killing all these children, are causing people to hate them. And I want to point out one other thing. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, towards Day of Judgment, something will happen and it will cause even the rocks and the stones to cry out, "Oh Muslim, there's Yahud hiding behind me. Come and get it. Come kill him." Why? What would these people do towards the Day of Judgment that would make them so hated that even the rocks and stones will cry out for their blood and call out to the Muslims? And another thing I want to say to the Muslim people, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, said, whoever wakes up in the morning and he doesn't have the concern of the affairs of the Ummah of Muhammad, of the Muslims, he's not a Muslim. Whoever hears a man, he didn't say a Muslim, he said a man, holler out, "Oh Muslim, help me," and you don't respond, he is not a Muslim. How do we have countries with millions and millions of people that are Muslim and they sit with their mouth shut and they sit with their hands over their ears and over their eyes like this isn't occurring? Shame on them. And they still eat Israeli products. They still drink Israeli products. They still clothe their body with things that are supporting that genocide. This is terrible.
Yes. And Brother Abdul Bari, since you are living in US, do you saw any government who have been ruled on US? You saw little lawful for Palestinian issue over the human rights violation by
We're
the
very happy
Israelis.
from South African government, and you have to understand South Africa lived under a horrible apartheid regime where the white people just came in with guns and just took over all the people's stuff. Put the black people in Bantus, like what the Palestinians, like the Gaza and places like, just herded them into areas. That's it. But the black people resisted and got their freedom. And it's ironic that the Israelis supported that racist government in South Africa against the people. The people there never forgot the Palestinian support for South African liberation struggle against racism. And they actually brought the case in the World Court against the Israelis for genocide. We look at those actions are commendable. Countries all over the world have been doing that. But we want to point out something as well. And sometimes this is controversial.
But not any government came in US who can raise their voices for the human rights violation from the Israel on Palestinians.
It will never be the United States. They're hypocrite. Right? They're giving bombs to the Israelis to slaughter the Palestinians. You think they're going to do anything but prevent us from protesting about it, prevent us from saying anything about it, prevent international bodies from sanctioning? Why? Because they're all partners in the same crime. It's like there's a criminal scheme going on here for land, oil, and power by European colonialism, by imperialism, and everybody wants to act like, oh, it's just these bad Israelis. No, this is something more serious. And I want to point something out. And the people of Pakistan, you have a nuclear power. You have a country built on its sole purposes to uphold Islam. How is it that the Pakistani government has not sent weapons to Hamas? Pakistani government has not aided and assisted the oppressed people in Palestine? Why is
now
it
we are also living in the occupied Pakistan by the government.
We know the problems and how they.
We are facing many troubles here in Pakistan as well.
Unfortunately, there are so many countries in the world right now who are occupied. We think they are independent countries in the world, but they are not truly independent. They are occupied.
Even Imran Khan gave his statement regarding the Palestine that when I will come out from the jail and ruling again on Pakistan, by the law as PTI win on the 8th February election. So he will defend to Palestine, inshallah. Inshallah.
It's shameful that these corrupt, old, worthless human beings that don't do anything but fill their bellies and prepare for their children to fill their bellies in Pakistan rule over that country through the military, and the honorable people in that country sit in jails. The honorable people in that country have to go in exile and flee. Shame on them. You're very correct. It's occupied Pakistan just like occupied Palestine. But I want to point out, we should be happy because we understand that the Muslim people somewhere have faith. When the Muslim people shut the Red Sea down, no more Israeli goods through the Red Sea, Indian Ocean, nobody's going to accept that. When we look at right now from Iraq, right now from Syria, right now from Lebanon, right now it was directly from Iran, Palestine will be free soon, very soon, no more Israel soon. No one in that region from the resistance groups are playing. Those people want to liberate Palestine. They don't want two-state solution. They want the Israelis to go back where they came from. Like what Sayyid Nasrallah said, they all have two passports, Israeli passport, French passport, Israeli passport, British passport, Israeli passport, American passport. He said it's time they start using their second passports. Palestine's going to be free.
Okay, how you can see if Israel give Palestinians their rights to live in their homes,
they will never do that.
If Israel don't bother them on their occupations and movement, what is violent, the Palestinians in Jerusalem especially. What do you think?
I think that the Palestinians
they
would only receive their rights through armed struggle. Just like in Vietnam, just like when the French were in Algeria, just like Europeans everywhere in the world when they colonized non-white people, they had to struggle and fight with weapons to liberate themselves from being occupied by foreigners, by other people that came from somewhere else and stole their land for their resources and enslaved their people. The Israelis have a racist mentality. A Klansman will never be fair with a black man. He just wants to lynch him, kill him, right? The Israelis are the same way with the Palestinians. The Israelis know they're land pirates. The Israelis know they stole the Palestinians' land. The Israelis know that the houses they live in are not theirs.
Yes.
So they're never going to be fair and just to say, oh, we're sorry we colonized you. We're going to go back to America or Europe. No, they're going to continue butchering and slaughtering people, especially when the United States continues giving them weapons.
Yes, I read it in an article of the newspaper yesterday regarding the Palestinian rights violation by the Israel that they sent Palestinian 1 day ago to move from their homes. If they don't move their homes or left their belongings, so they threat them for the killing and for other things. Anything can be happen with them Palestinians.
I mean, it's a captive population, and it's a shame on the rest of the world that they sit by and witness this. This is something that will go down in the history books, like we read about the piles of skulls that Genghis Khan made outside the cities, how he burned and ravaged the cities. The destruction of Gaza will go down in the annals of human history as an egregious crime against humanity. Egregious war crimes. Horrible. They're never going to give the Palestinians their rights. The Palestinians have to seize their rights. And they're doing a good job of it. After 200 and some days, the Israelis first said, a month will be done. No, they're still there. The Palestinians are not going to stop. In history, human history, the colonized people always win. Why? Because it's their land. They want their land back. And God is with people who are
they only want their land because they are leaving. But Israel also claimed that that Palestine is their land.
Well, it's like the Bible. If we just want to look at, I wouldn't care what your religion is, whether you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, what your religion is. If you steal my home and kick me out of my home and tell me I can live in the field down the street, but only if I keep my kids from scratching your car every time you pull in my driveway, my kids go and scratch the car, throw rocks. No, I have to beat my own kids up like the Palestinian Authority does, the Palestinians that resist. I had to beat my own children up to prevent them from trying to seize my rights in my house. Maybe they'll let me live in my garage. What a dignified human being accepts some nonsense like that? To be treated like that, like an animal. Just somebody steal your stuff, destroy your orchards. The Palestinians are proud, stiff-necked people. They will never accept to be occupied. Never accept to have their land stolen. They will resist until they're free. May Allah help them.
Inshallah.
Yes, we have only 5 minutes left, so I want to ask that what you think, what we Muslims especially and all the human beings, people all around the world can do and should do for Palestine peoples.
First thing, spread the awareness and delegitimize Israel. Spread awareness that Israel has no right to exist. It's not some Jewish homeland. It's a European colony and we want it gone, like the rest of them. That firstly has to be made clear. Secondly, any products, the BDS movement, boycott, divest, sanction in Pakistan and expatriates throughout the world. There are businesses in Pakistan, there are products in Pakistan that are being sold, just like here and everywhere else in the world, that come from or that are Israel is beneficiaries of those products. We shall boycott anything and any business that refuses to take that stuff from their shelves. The Pakistani people should put pressure on the government there, have protests there, to force the government to disassociate from the Zionist state, because there are ties between Israel and the Pakistani government for sure. So we will call on people everywhere. Stop drinking Pepsi. Stop buying Nike products, right? Stop going to McDonald's. Stop having your coffee in Starbucks. In the United States, we're protesting these people. We're going in there and disrupting their lunches and dinners, and there's no business as usual. We want to globalize the intifada. We want people everywhere to join in saying no to Israel. Stop consuming their products. Raise awareness and go out in the streets as much as you can and say no. And for Muslims especially, realize we all look up to Salah ad-Din Ayyub for liberating Jerusalem, right?
Yes.
How are we looking at the people today who are liberating Jerusalem? And are we supporting those people? And if not, why? Because they're sacrificing their lives. They're sacrificing their weapons. They're sacrificing their money. The free people, they're not, the Lebanese aren't Palestinians. The Iranians aren't even Arabs. Right?
Yes.
Yemenis live way away from Palestine. What's making
And
all
one
these
more
Muslims
thing.
exist?
One more thing, Brother Abdul Bari, that if we think about that Israel doesn't have any right to exist as Israel, so every kind heart can think once in his mind that if Israel don't have right to exist, how Zionists then should live in this world? What should their nationality then?
I'm like this, right? When you look at France ruled Algeria for a long time. We know about Abdul Qadir, he resisted in the 1830s. So France was there, they considered Algeria a part of France. Hundreds of thousands of French people, maybe a million French people, moved to the best plantations, just like Israel took the Algerian stuff. When the Algerians drove them out, who cares where they go back to? Go back to France or wherever else you came from. What's going to happen to the Zionists there? I hope we catch you so we can try you and punish you for what you've done to our brothers and sisters. And I hope wherever you flee in the world, some people catch you and punish you. Because you're not going to escape. You're war criminals. You hunted the Nazis down all over the world for killing Jews. What's wrong with people doing that to you for killing Palestinians? Because the crimes are the same. The crimes are the exact same. You put people in camps, you exterminate them, cause their death, commit genocide on them, and you think it's going to be okay? No. We want the Israelis to be pariahs, the Zionists to be pariahs. Anywhere they go, anywhere in our country.
They don't even allow to provide the food to them.
It's terrible. But as far as resistance, anywhere people that are pro-Israel go in our society, in our area here in Michigan, you can't go out in public and eat. If we know you're there, we're coming. You can't go and speak at any school, commencement, anywhere. We're coming. You can't go and just have your car parked somewhere. We're going to find out where you're at, and we're going to be, hey, why are you supporting Israel? Everywhere in the world, people should do that to anyone supporting those criminals. Make them feel uncomfortable. And we say no business as usual. None. Like genocide is being committed.
Yes. Okay. Now our time is finished, and I myself very, very grateful by my heart to you, Abdul Bari brother, that you gave us your time and share all the precious thoughts and awareness and knowledge regarding the Palestinian issue and Israel genociding and everything. Thank you. Jazakallah.
brother Abdul Bari,
And we
for your
hope
time
that this is
and
not
thought.
enough here.
Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you, because you're raising these issues, and these are issues that need to be raised. May Allah bless you and accept what you're doing, and may Allah liberate your leaders and restore the right people to rule in your country, for sure.
Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. Remember us in your prayers as well. In our prayers.
And inshallah, we will invite you again on our
Yes,
live
because
blog,
this is
and
not
we'll talk
enough,
again on this issue, because like I said, this is the most controversial global issue since 1948. So
Sure.
inshallah, the three of us will talk again on this issue.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yes, and lots of things is remaining now to discuss here with brother Abdul Bari, like
Yes.
what they are doing, especially in America, regarding the Palestinians raising the voices, and what effort they are doing all around the world as well. So there is too much remaining to discuss.
Yes.
One more thing I forgot to say. Muslim people, pray for your Palestinian brothers and sisters. Pray. The hands, the dua is more important than the arrow. Pray, please. Pray if you can't do
Yes,
anything
and
more.
always it's give me a goosebumps.
Yes.
And
Assalamu
Jazakallahu khair for the
Yeah.
Palestinian people as well, who are suffering these conditions, and they are don't forgive us Pakistanis as their brother and sisters. We have to get shame for them that we can't do, but we should do what we can do for them.
For sure.
This time.
Everyone has responsibility to do something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Inshallah. Inshallah.
And we pray always for Palestinian people. Always, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them peace. What is their right to live in peace in their land by all the authority? What are their rights?
Ameen.
Ameen summa ameen.
Thank you again for having me.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Jazakallahu.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, Arif.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah once again. Yes, Arif. So
Yeah.
that is very great information.
Yeah. तो बहुत अच्छी बातचीत हुई ब्रदर अब्दुल बारी से. I think we should end our program now.
Yes. और इंशाल्लाह हम बहुत जल्द अब्दुल बारी भाई के साथ दोबारा और प्रोग्राम्स मिलाएंगे फर्दर, और होपफुली कि आप लोग देखेंगे और आप लोगों को बहुत कुछ जानने का मौका मिलेगा. और ये कि अभी तो ये इंट्रोडक्टरी प्रोग्राम था एक तरह से. अब्दुल बारी भाई और अब्दुल बारी भाई जैसे और लोग अमेरिका में बैठकर फ़लस्तीन के लिए क्या कर रहे हैं, कितनी एफर्ट कर रहे हैं, किस किस तरह से अवेयरनेस कर रहे हैं, उन लोगों के साथ कौन कौन शामिल हैं. सिर्फ मुस्लिम्स नहीं, सिर्फ फ़लस्तीनियंस नहीं, बल्कि नॉन मुस्लिम्स, क्रिश्चियंस, अमेरिकन्स, ज्यूज़, सब उन लोगों के साथ शामिल हैं. वो सब आपको आप तक पहुंचाने की कोशिश करेंगे इंशाल्लाह. दुआओं में याद रखिएगा. अब इजाज़त दीजिए. अल्लाह हाफिज़.
अल्लाह हाफिज़.